What's going on, everyone? So welcome to my latest video. This is my review for the TV show Sons of Anarchy, which aired from 2008 to 2014, 7 seasons long for a total of 92 episodes. And for those of you that don't know, the premise is simple. It's about a biker by the name of Jax who struggles with balancing being a father as well as being involved in an outlaw motorcycle club. This is a show I've heard about for quite some time, a decade plus at least. A lot of my peers in high school talked about the show. I heard a lot of rave reviews about how Jax is one of the best characters of all time in terms of TV, how there are a lot of deaths in the show that are unexpected, how the finale of the show as a whole is one of the best of all time. And Sons of Anarchy also, just if you quickly look on IMDb, it is in IMDb's top 250. Audiences clearly liked it. Critics liked it too. If you look on Rotten Tomatoes, they liked, I think it was every single season pretty much. And then additionally, it got 5-6 Emmys, which is 5-6 more than other shows. So there's a lot of acclaim for this show. And I had it on my radar for, like I said, a decade plus, but I kept putting it off because there were other shows that I was getting involved with, such as Sopranos, The Wire, Game of Thrones, 6 Feet Under, shows like that. So this was the year, though, that I finally decided to say, you know what? I'm going to watch Sons of Anarchy, and I went in with an open mind. I didn't really know what it was about other than that premise that I gave you, and other than hearing other those things that, hey, there's a lot of unpredictability with the show and that there's a lot of character deaths. What I will say is this. I have a lot to say about the show, but also keep in mind, it is going to be spoiler-free. So I will not be talking about any spoilers. If you do want to talk about certain, particulars of the show involving spoilers, I'm down to talk about it in the comment section down below, but I don't want to talk about spoilers in this video for you guys, especially in case you haven't seen this show yet. So you are safe in regards to me reviewing this for you guys. So it's tough to talk about 92 episodes in the span of 10 minutes, but let's give it a go. So the first thing I'll say is the biggest positive about the show is easily the acting. There are a lot of great performances across the board. In particular, I mentioned Charlie Hunnam as Jax. He's really good. Gemma, who is his mom, played excellently by Katie Siegel. She is really good. I'll talk about her character in a little bit, but great performance. I also think that Tommy Flanagan, who plays Chibs, he is probably best known prior to the show as someone that was briefly in Gladiator, really good in that film. He's really good in this show. I also think Mark Boone Jr., who plays Bobby Elvis, is really good. He's a character actor that you've probably seen in a bunch of other films in particular, such as Memento. He's also in Batman Begins. He's a really good actor. Really like him in this show. And I think that Ron Perlman is probably one of the favorites of the show. He's really good as Clay. Really good performance. And then Drea De Matteo, who plays Wendy, she's probably best known for being, of course, in The Sopranos. She's equally good in this show. And then last but not least, Taylor Sheridan. Yes, Taylor Sheridan plays Deputy Chief David Hale. He is someone that I know him best as a writer. I know him best as someone that wrote Wind River, Sicario, and Hell or High Water. I was watching Yellowstone, and I think it was towards the end of Yellowstone was when I finally realized that he is an actor in Yellowstone. And I was like, holy cow, I didn't realize that he was a writer and he also acted. That's awesome. And I then looked further into it and I saw that, hey, he was in Sons of Anarchy first before Yellowstone. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. And he's really good. I like him. And I think, though, it's interesting because when you look at Sons of Anarchy and you look at Yellowstone, there are so many similarities between the two shows. So if you like Yellowstone and you've seen it before seeing Sons of Anarchy, you're going to really like this show. I think that the show as a whole, the costume design is another positive that I really dug, which I'm sure most people aren't talking about it, but I really liked how lived in all the clothing felt. Like, it feels very grimy, and at the same time just feels very accurate to with what they're going for in regards to this biker club. So it's something that feels very much so chosen and is really good. So I forget if it got nominated for Emmys in regards to the costume design, but really good costume design. And the makeup also is pretty good, I will say. So those aspects I do have a lot of praise for. And I do think at the same time, there is some unpredictable moments that did take me by surprise. In particular, the season 6 finale, which geographically doesn't make sense and is quite frustrating, which if you want to know more, you can ask in the comment section down below, because again, not going to spoil anything, but there is something that happens in the season 6 finale that did surprise me, and I did think that it made for a very, oh my goodness, what's going to happen next kind of thing. So I liked that, but at the same time, here's the thing. A show like Breaking Bad, a show like The Sopranos, when you're watching it, you can tell that it is a character study, that it is one of those things where the writers and the directors, they know the job. They are having it where they want you to care about the characters, but at the same time acknowledge the fact that what they're doing isn't something that, hey, is necessarily good. Now again, I'm not on a moral high ground. I'm not saying like I know what's good or what's bad. I believe personally the world is very gray, and hearing that this show has an anti-hero in Jax was something that interested me, because I think that that's one of the great things about TV shows for the last 25 years is that we've gotten so many anti-heroes in TV shows, such as like Don Draper in Mad Men. I already mentioned Tony Soprano in, of course, Sopranos, Walter White in Breaking Bad. But the thing is with all those characters and all those actors and all those directors and writers that were involved is that they had self-awareness. They knew what they had to do. This show, Sons of Anarchy, Jax is treated as if he is the good guy, the one that always makes these morally sound decisions, and that he is, the best guy. He's the best guy around. But the thing is this. The reality is that he's not. He is an anti-hero. He is an anti-hero first, and he gradually becomes a psychopath. But that's the thing. A lot of characters around him are psychopathic also. But the show has it where they're trying to spin it in a way where it's like justifying it. And that's one of the things that I'm not a big fan of, is because the show feels very black and white. There isn't a, sense of, I feel conflicted about these characters. It's like, no, you know who you're supposed to care about, and you know who you're not supposed to care about. But the thing is this, there are characters where I really didn't like, but you're supposed to care about. One of the characters that is beloved in this show is Gemma. And I mentioned the actress is incredible. She does a great job. But the character is just, it's like, every time she's on screen and just hearing the stuff that she says, it's like I'm putting a cheese grater on my ears, or at least I want to, because I do not understand how someone like Skylar White, played by Anne Gunn, I do not understand how she got so much flack, because in Breaking Bad, you understand her point of view. You get where she's coming from. But someone like Gemma, I never understood really where she was coming from. I just knew where it was like, oh, I want to get involved with everything. And then it's like, oh my goodness, I didn't like that you're doing this. It's like, well, maybe mind your own business. No, for family. It's like, and then she does an act of violence. It's like, oh, it's cool. And it's like, this is getting old. And it's like, is this going to be happening every single episode? Oh yeah, it's happening every single episode. So it's like, it gets old after a while, and it's like, it's lacking any depth. It's very one note. And that's just it. A lot of these characters are very one note. Again, I love morally great film and TV shows. That's my bread and butter, which is why it hurts me saying that all of this, because it's like these characters are about, they're about as depthful as a pool, a little pool of water. Like, simple as that. It pains me to say that, but that's just the reality of things. The show gains a little bit of self-awareness with the series finale, but by then it's too little too late. And also the series finale, there's a moment of really bad green screen CGI work that took me out of a moment that was supposed to be impactful, pun intended, if you know. But it really took me out of it. And at the same time, towards the latter half of the show, the episodes get longer. But the thing is, there's so much character work that's going on, but it feels very repetitive. Very repetitive with what they're doing with these characters, to the point of where I was able to tell what was going to happen to certain characters. And also the show it started feeling like wheel spinning, the show. Like, we don't know what to do. Let's just keep rolling in the spur. It's like these characters felt like hamsters after a while. It's like, what is happening? What is happening? Why are they doing this? So I personally think, I never thought I would say this about a TV show, because I know I've said it about some films, but I honestly think the show probably worked best as like a 3-4 season type show, not a 7-season show. And also, just basic filmmaking here is really grating also. I mentioned how certain characters make you want to get a cheese grater to your ears. Well, the soundtrack also did that. The show refuses to use any score, which is, instrumental music. This show is all about lyrical music, and I would be fine with that if it wasn't the same type of songs all the time, where it's like you have this country music, which, no offense to country music, but if I'm hearing country music, I'm not exactly saying like, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm going to cry. It's more like, I feel like I'm going to Cracker Barrel or something, or like I'm going horseback riding. Like, what is happening here? Why are they playing this music where something clearly important, something clearly sad is happening, and we're having this music where it's like, oh my goodness, my dear Aunt Sally, what are we doing here? And it's like, why are we playing this music when something sad's happening? It's like, I don't understand. I don't understand. It's what I'm thinking in my mind when I'm watching these scenes. And that's the thing. This happens every single episode. The last 10 minutes of the show, that's what they do. It's like, okay, they're utilizing visual storytelling. Got it. I love visual storytelling. But it's like they're using this cheese grating music. And it's like, what is happening here? Again, I love visual storytelling. But if you have it where the sound that's coming out of it is just that grating, it makes it hard to appreciate. Also, about the visual storytelling, it doesn't help that the visuals itself are ugly looking. It's very like, ugh, it's very murky. It has this like digital look to it. I forget if it was shot on video or digital, but it looks terrible. Like, really terrible. Like, I was watching and I was like, yikes. And some of the camera work is fine, but the colors, the lighting, just stuff that really took me out of scenes. I'm like, it just doesn't look good. And it also, I mentioned the costume design, how that is really good. It does take away in some instances how great the costume design is. Again, it's a show that it feels as if they didn't trust on the show to where it's like, hey, let's shoot on film. And I get it. Shooting on film can be expensive, but we're talking about a decade plus ago. You know, Breaking Bad was shot on film, you know, so it's like, I don't know. And shooting digitally can look good. This isn't the show for that, though. And I know some people might say, well, it's to match the gritty tone. It's like, bro, you can have a gritty tone and it still look great. I mentioned, Sicario earlier, where Taylor Sheridan wrote that. Look at that film. Shot digitally, looks incredible. So, yeah, these are just things that I really struggled with this show. Feeling repetitive. Characters that are, clearly meant to emulate a black and white mindset as opposed to the grayness of the world. Soundtrack choices that are very, very bizarre and not in like a David Lynch way where it's like, oh, that's awesome. It's more of like a, heavy-handed symbolism. There is some of that in this show. And just overall, a lack of self-awareness just really does the show in. And yes, there is violence that happens. And yes, every now and then it is shocking. But after a while, it just made me feel numb where it's like, I'm not a big fan of these characters. It's not that I don't necessarily simply don't care about them. It also doesn't help the fact that I just think that they're as depthful as a little glass of water. So, again, I don't hate this show. I just have a lot of frustration towards this show. I can see why it's beloved. I really can. And, at the end of the day, if you like the show, I can respect that. But for me, you saw this reaction. You saw how I felt. And Taylor Sheridan, bless him, he saw this show. He was in it. He saw how popular it was. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to take that template, put it on Yellowstone. And you know what? It worked. Yellowstone is also a huge hit. And he has a bunch of spinoffs. So good for him. Again, for me, Sons of Anarchy, I am giving it a lot higher rating than I should. But that's because the first couple seasons weren't bad. But it did gradually, my eyes kind of got worse. But for me, Sons of Anarchy, I'll personally be giving a... But yeah, guys, that is my review of Sons of Anarchy. Let me know your thoughts on Sons of Anarchy. Did you like it? Did you not? Let me know in the comment section down below. And I know what you're thinking. My rating is a lot higher than what this rant entitled. But that's simply because TV shows, I usually give a little bit higher of a rating than films. Because I've seen a lot of TV shows, but I've seen a lot more films. So, but anyways, Sons of Anarchy, did you like it? Did you not? If you're indifferent to it, let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, don't forget the subscription, notification bell, follow me down on Letterboxd, Patreon, and I will catch you guys later.